Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking. I'm coming to you from my cold, cold basement in Moorhead, Minnesota during a blizzard outside. And I want to talk to you about this one. It's called In the Hall of the Mountain King. Now this is another awesome game coming out to you from Burnt Island Games. Those people over there have been knocking it out of the park recently. This is a brand new design from a person that one of my favorite designers, Jake Ormier, and I think I played games like Graham Johns or Johns before. I apologize if I said that name before. I'd have to go and look up what they've created before, so I apologize for that. But of course, the art by like the man, the myth, the legend, Kwanchai Moria, he's just also knocking out of the park as far as the art goes. But regardless, this is a game about each person running a troll den. You're trying to dig into this mountain, and in the halls of the Mountain King. You're trying to dig into this mountain to try to get the most honors so you can be declared the king of said mountain. It is a super fun game about collecting resources and building up your little troll pack, and also just like it's like each turn, I reference games like this as like puzzle games. Like on your turn, you're trying to figure out the best possible thing that you can possibly do to get some points on that particular turn, or set yourself up for a big cash-in of points at a later time. And it is a game that is both feels like you're kind of racing against everybody else at the table, but also you feel like you have to like switch gears in your like engine for the game at one point too, and figuring out when you're going to do that is kind of tough. But it is an awesome game. I'm going to show you how to play, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright everybody, so this is In the Hall of the Mountain King. I'm going to show you how the game is played. Just a couple of quick things. One, this is a prototype that I was sent. Obviously it does not have all the awesome Kwanchai art that is going to be in the final production. Also the resources might look slightly different and so on and so forth. But I do invite you to check out the Kickstarter page so you can definitely check out all those awesome things that you're going to be able to see in the final produced copy of this. Also, I do know the game has gone under some tweaks and changes, some little development. I did get this copy of the game a little bit a while ago, and since then, not much has changed. I mean, the gameplay is still the same. The way I'm going to show you how the game is played is going to be exactly the same, but I do invite you to go check out the most recent copy of the rules and what have you, so you can get a good look at that. Like, one of the things I do know is that this board is going to be two-sided, and so, like, if you have, like, a two-player game, it will be different, you know, like as far as the spaces and so on and so forth. So if you're more of a two-player, like gamer, like if you like, my daughter and I are like she's my #1 person that I play most of my games with. I'm excited to see what that other board looks like. But regardless, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Why don't I just show you how the game is played? Now, before I jump in and go through a turn, and I'm not going to show you an entire game here, I'm just going to show you what your options are as you play the game. I'm just going to show you what you have here. So you have lots of different resources up here. These are your brown carts. Carts are used to haul the statues to their pedestals or to the grand halls. All this stuff is going to make sense here in just a little bit, I promise you. And carts are, that's what these are. These are gold coins. Gold coins, the major purpose of gold coins is going to be to bribe trolls, to have, to allow them to let the troll above them to join your like brigade of trolls, if you will. Again, this doesn't make a lot of sense to you right this instant, but it will, I assure you, very, very soon. Then we have some heartstone, we have iron, we have hammers. Hammers are used to dig out tough tunnels, and once again, that'll make sense in a little bit here. Then we have some stone, and then we have runes. And runes are used to cast spells, and there's a deck of spells that are right there, and then you have 3 spells that are available. Now, those spells are available to all the players on any given turn, and if you want to cast a spell and you have a rune, you just place a rune on the spell and cast that. I'll explain, or I'll show you a couple of sample spells here in just a minute. The interesting thing is that since they're available to everybody, once a spell has been cast 3 times, you will discard that spell and replace it with one off the top of the deck. So the spells will be changing. And if you ever run, and you do put the spells on the bottom of the deck, so you'll never run out of them if you do go through them all. The game board itself has been set up. The players themselves will choose their starting locations depending upon the number of players that you have. This is a 4-player game, and you can see there are these 4 gates here, and there are these 4 different spots to put them on. Each player can choose where they're on. I've just playing like the yellow player here, and I did place the yellow one here, but there's nothing that says you have to do that. You can place it over there or whatever. All of the starting spots are slightly different, and but they are not. I mean, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's an asymmetrical game." No, I mean they're different, but they're balanced. So I mean, you can read into that. I don't really consider that asymmetric, but if you think it does, great, awesome. So you will notice that there's these meeples here. These are going to be the statues that you want to claim because they're going to earn you more points. These are distributed randomly. Well, technically randomly. You will draw. There's 3 different types of the. You can see the 3 different colors. When you draw them, you'll place one anywhere on the board. You'll pick a spot, and then you'll start going clockwise around, and then you will just stagger it. So in this case, I randomly picked an orange one to place there. And then I put, like I randomly picked a blue one there, and then I went to the white, because that's the last color. And then I just continued with that thing, right? So I went orange, blue, white, all the way around. So that's what you see as far as that's concerned. Now just talking quickly about the board, and again, these things will make a lot more sense here in just a brief moment. Each section of the board, it's grouped by color on purpose, because the further you are able to dig into like the mountain hall, and if you're able to place a pedestal, and then you're able to place a statue on there, you're going to earn more and more points for that, just because it's more difficult. These are these spots, as you can see right here, that are the tough parts of the tunnels to dig through that require hammers. When you lay a tunnel down, for every one of these that you cover, you have to discard a hammer to do so. If you don't have enough hammers, you're not going to be able to do that. Alright, so you'll also see that these spots with these gears are. Gears are workshops. If you cover up if you connect a tunnel to a gear, you're able to build a workshop. Workshops are randomly picked at the beginning of the game. You only have 5 available, and it's quite possible that they could all be used up before you're actually able to connect to a workshop, and if that does happen, then you just don't get to build one. But workshops just give you access to an ability that you're going to be able to enact on the beginning of your turn. I'll explain that when I get more into how the game is played and how a turn goes. You'll also notice that in many situations you have spots where you'll see resources like a gold coin here, a heartstone, some runes, a hammer, things like that. If you cover those with a tunnel and build a tunnel over that, you're going to gain those particular resources automatically, and they just get added to your supply, which is located here. Alright, so then we have the different sizes of tunnels that are over here, and you can see that they range from a 2 space here to like these 5 spots, and also these other ones. You might notice that some of these have a hole in them. Let me just grab this guy and I'll show it to you. So you'll see there's a hole in this particular one. That is called an anchor spot. When you build a tunnel that has an anchor spot, you, at that moment, and that moment only, have an option. If you have claimed a pedestal prior to that point, and that's in your supply, you are able to place that pedestal in that spot, which is always a good deal, because if you're able to have a pedestal on the board and you're able to put a statue on that pedestal, you're going to score a lot of points for doing so. Again, getting a little bit ahead of myself, but that's kind of like the main thing that you're going to be possibly doing in this game. Alright, so coming down all the way here, we have the pyramid of the trolls that are over here. These are the trolls that are available to recruit and put into your personal troll group that's over in this location. Each one of these, if you have the ones down here on level 1, they are completely free. You can hire them, and it doesn't cost you anything to do so, and they'll just join your troll group, and you'll place it in any one of the locations up there in Cascade. Interesting to note, you can't ever fire a troll. So once you have a troll in your troll den, you have to pick wisely, because you only have a certain number of spaces. Also, The actual finishing off of the troll den is by 2 players, or 1 player in a 2-player game, actually signifies the ending of the game. It begins the end game situation. Basically, so you have a row of 4, you put a row of 3, you put a row of 2, and 1. And when you put the 10th one down, if you're like the first player, you actually get this little 5 victory point token, and if you're the second player, you get the 3 victory point token that's there, and then that will signify the end of the game, and everybody gets 2 more rounds to pick their choices and try to get as many points as they possibly can before the game is over. To recruit trolls, as I said, the first one is free. If you want to recruit a level 2 troll, you have to have gold, and you have to pay off and bribe the trolls that are beneath it. So if I wanted this troll, I'd have to bribe those 2 to take that particular troll. If I wanted to bribe this troll, I would have to pay off all 5 of the trolls that are below it in order to get that troll. But the level 3 trolls are very, very good. As you can see, that they have tons of resources, and you want to get those. If a troll ever gets 4 gold coins, and there is a spell that allows you to use different resources to bribe, but mostly it's going to be gold. But if they ever have like 4 resources on them, mostly gold, they retire. They happily retire, and you discard them and you replace them. Obviously, if you hire any other trolls, you're just going to replace them off of the decks as well. Whenever you hire a level 2 troll, say like this troll got taken, and you put another level 2 troll down, you reach into this bag, and you will randomly withdraw another pedestal and place that on there. You can run out of pedestals. They are a finite supply, and so if you ever have a situation where you have to replace a level 2 and there's no pedestals in there, the level 2 just comes out without any pedestal on it. So that's how that works. Also, it should be noted that, like, if later on you draft this troll, whatever bribes that are on that troll, you get to keep. So it's kind of like one of those things where, oh, this troll isn't that great, but he's got 3 gold on him and I really need gold. So I'm going to go ahead and take that troll because I really need that money. And you know what? The resources I'm getting from him aren't that bad either. So that's how bribing of the trolls and claiming the trolls works. So I've kind of actually stepped into how the game is played, but I want to tell you one other quick thing about how the game starts. So basically how the game starts is you're going to pick, everybody gets a hand of 6 trolls that are your starting trolls. And everybody will have these. And what happens is you shuffle these and you draw 2, and then you're going to pick 1. And then you're going to draw 2 and pick 1 out of your hand again and draw 2, and so you keep doing that until you have the 4 trolls that you want to start with, and you'll have 1 troll in your hand. So like, let me grab this guy. So this is the troll that I had in my hand, and so you automatically get this resource if you are like one of the later players in the round. So that's like the first player advantage type of thing. So then also the bottom starting resources on each of these spots, you get those, and then after you take those and place those into your race, you then just cover those up like so, and now you have these resources. Now you might be saying, well, why do these trolls have those resources on them? When you do draft a troll into your place, you do what's called the cascade, in which case then what happens is that you gain the resources that are on those and you place them on that troll unless they have that resource on them still. Meaning that you haven't spent it or you haven't moved that resource into your storehouse. So that's how you're going to gain resources. And so that's why the placement of the trolls is actually very important, because if you have a situation where you have multiple, as you're building up your cascade of trolls, the ones on the edges are going to be the ones that are going to create the most resources for you. So just keep that in mind, that especially the ones down here, both of those are going to earn you a total of 4 resources if you complete your cascade of trolls. So just careful placement of those trolls is very, very important as far as which ones. And so forward planning, something I love in games where you have to think about what's going on later on, is extremely important as the game proceeds. All right, so got all that? Okay, so let me just go through exactly how the game is played. So the very first thing at the beginning of the game is you're either going to cast one spell and or activate one workshop. Now I'm going to just show you a couple of spells like I said I was going to. These spells, as you probably have guessed, are just a way that people can use to like just break the rules of the game in some way. So this is one called Giant Strength, and so you have this particular spell, and it says if you dig a tunnel this turn, make it one size larger than the size that you pay for. I'll explain the payment for the tunnels here in just a little bit. And like here's another one where it says summon Rockvor, immediately dig a tunnel, paying for it and following all other digging rules. And so basically that means you could possibly dig more than one tunnel a turn. I should mention one other thing as you're doing your turn. At any time, if you want to, you're able to trade in 4 resources to get 1 resource of whatever kind you want. It's not a really great exchange, but in a lot of these situations, this is kind of one of those games that has a puzzle turns, and you'll be like, oh, I really need a hammer, and they're like, well, it'll cost me a lot, but I'm going to have to give up these 4 resources so I can get another hammer, and then I'm able to build this tunnel. And so you're going to be doing that more than once in most games that you play. All right, so the next thing you do is you're going to either hire a troll from over here, and I've already talked about hiring a troll, but you either do that or you get to dig 1 tunnel and then score said tunnel. All right, so you might be saying, well, okay, scoring tunnels, how does that work? So building a tunnel, you're going to pick the size of the tunnel you want to build. Now you have to pay for it with resources equal to the number of spaces that tunnel is worth. So you have these little 2 spacers here, and you just spend 2 of whatever resource up to these 5 spacers here, and then of course you have to spend 5 resources for that. Now they all must be the same, and you're going to spend either stone, iron, or heartstone. And depending upon the type of resource that you use to build it, they'll be worth different points. And I'm just going to show you this the player aid here. Once again, player aids, love them. Please continue to make awesome player aids, publishers. It's so cool. So here you have, so it's like you can see 3 is worth 3, 4, 5, and then you have 4, 4, 6, 8, and then 5, 8, 11, depending upon the type of resource that you're going to be using to build that particular tunnel. You may notice there that there is no 2-space tunnel on that particular spot. So, you know, keep that in mind that if you're, yes, 2-space tunnels will sometimes be exactly what you need in a certain situation. But if you have a situation where they're not going to earn you any points. So make sure you're not using your expensive resources to do that. Use your stone to make one of those. But building a tunnel is pretty simple. So let's say I wanted to build a tunnel, you know, from my opening spot here, and I wanted to basically get over. I wanted to cover, you know, an area so I could get to this particular meeple right there. I'm sorry, not meeple, but the orange statue, because I wanted to be able to claim that, and I eventually wanted to move it onto an orange pedestal and earn some points. So what's going to happen here is I have to come up with a way that I could possibly pull that off. Now let's say I had taken this troll before, and so I have like an orange pedestal available to me. And I should mention here, like actually I'm going to place, like when you gain the resources, like you put them directly on the troll. I'm going to just do this. And this is important because of the fact that I have this cart here that is, because it's on this troll, it's considered to be a white cart, meaning that it can only be used to move a white statue. Now, if I ever have a workshop, and I'll get back to workshops in a little bit, I do apologize, I kind of skipped that a little bit, but when I use a workshop, I can sometimes move these resources down to my supply, and something in your supply is like a workshop, a cart in your supply is considered to be wild, and it can be used to move anything. But anyway, so let's say I've done that. Oh, and I better put this and this just to kind of show you. So I place those on those trolls as well, and so I'm gonna build, And you know, I'm going to cheat here just so I'm able to, to do this. I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. Well, you know, and actually, you know, and I should mention that, like, if you have resources on your trolls, you can spend them as normal. So I mean, you don't have to have them in your supply to do it. All right. Now, all that being said, is the whole purpose is that I'm going to build this particular tunnel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place it down like so. And now notice I am covering this particular like rocky tough spot. So I'm going to have to spend this hammer that I have to do this. But I'm going to be able to place that right there, and I can go ahead and place this particular pedestal right in that location. Now, if I chose not to do that, at a later turn, I couldn't say, oh, by the way, I want to build this pedestal here. You can't do that. You have to build the pedestal the moment that it is built. You can't do it at a later time. So that is how, like, you just build. And so because I'm going to say I use these 4 stone to build it. So I'm going to put those back in the resource. And so because I built a 4 spot with stone, I would get 4 points. And so I would take my marker here and I move it up to 4, like so, to show that I'd earned those 4 points. Pretty easy how you build a tunnel. It's just the planning needed to make it happen can be developed. And you know what? Actually, since I you know, theoretically, even though I cheated and didn't have the resources, I should probably go through the whole process of that turn when I took that particular troll. Let's just reach in here and put one on. Ooh, no more orange out there. Now, something I should mention. When you build a pedestal to like one of the 3 colors, that's the only one of that color that is able to be built in this particular region. So now somebody else could build a white or a blue, but they can't build another orange one in this particular range. And that goes for the same for each one of these locations. And as you can see, like when we get to the end game scoring, you're going to be able to see that, like, the further in, remember I said the further in, you get more points you score. So you obviously see 2 all the way up to 10. Important stuff when you build those pedestals. And I'll get to end game scoring also here in just a short little bit. All right, so after you build that, now if you want to, you can move statues. Now, one other thing about tunnels. Your tunnels can never connect with another person's tunnel network. One of the first things I thought was, like, how am I going to know which tunnel is which? You can't ever touch anybody's tunnel. You can't build a tunnel over a workshop. You can't ever connect. Now, the closest you'll ever come to, and you can't, like, connect with a person's gate, things like that. The closest you'll ever come to connecting with somebody is if both of you are surrounding a certain workshop, meaning that both of you have access to it. The closest, also the closest you can ever truly come is having something in diagonally. You're not considered to be connecting if you're diagonal from somebody. And that would actually be an inaccurate move and not valid because I was covering a workshop. You can't ever cover up a workshop with a tunnel. So also keep that in mind. But okay, so now I have a situation where I've built my pedestal, and now I can move statues. Now I can use this particular. I can't, right? Because this particular cart is considered to be a white cart, and I have an orange troll, an orange pedestal here. But if I had moved this into my supply earlier, I would be able to go ahead and use that, and I could move this statue onto that pedestal, and that's going to be worth more points because I've put it in a venerated spot of honor. And that's moving statues. And you have to spend 1 card for every, like, section that you go through. So if you have to go through multiple sections of different tunnels, you have to spend 1 card for each of those things. So just keep that in mind. To get a statue to its pedestal, it's always better to build the pedestal closer to the statue than possible, or just have a ton of cards, which is probably not going to be happening. Alright, so the final thing you have is building a grand hall. Now this is a little more difficult. So when you build a grand hall, these are the grand halls. What you have to have is you personally have to have a group of tunnels built in such a way that you have a large enough chunk that you're going to be able to put one of these particular grand halls down. And so I'm just going to, like, so if you had, and I'm going to, like, just cheat and fill in this area here. So this is a little bit of, Tetris-y action here. Let's do. And this is where those like level 2, like here, these things come in really handy. and I haven't, I might as well, like, two things. If you have a thing like this, and let's say I'm just going to steal this, we've built a pedestal there for whatever reason. If we cover that up with a grand hall, that pedestal is destroyed and is gone. The reason for that is that these grand halls have their own little spot for a pedestal on them already. And those are wild, and you can put any statue on them at all as long as you claim them. Now, these particular grand halls have points. These particular grand halls have points on them that are listed right there on them, and you can see it's like 6 or 15. Now, the 6 is if you just built the grand hall. It's awesome that you built a grand hall, but you didn't get a statue on the spot on it. But if you had a statue on there at the end of the game, it would be worth the 15 points over the 6. So obviously that's what you want to shoot for. Alright, so let's take a step back actually to the workshop. So workshops are these little gear symbols here. And when you are able to place a tunnel that's next to a gear, you are allowed to take one of the workshops that are available to you and place that onto the board. The workshops themselves come in a lot of different areas. I'm just going to grab a few of these just so you can kind of see them. And they're just, as I said, remember at the beginning, you either cast a spell and or use one of your workshops. Every time you have a connection to one of the 4 sides of a workshop, you're allowed to use it for each of those connections. So if you're able to completely surround a workshop, just you yourself, let me just place this guy right here, you would be able to use it 4 times because of the fact that it surrounds that workshop. But other people can come up to your workshop and connect to it as well, but you can't, once again, remember they can't put a tunnel next to yours, but then they'd be able to co-opt it and use it as well. So like this particular workshop, as you can see, it just, it takes either gold and turns it into a iron or a heartstone, or you can take a heartstone or an iron and turn it into a gold. Here you have this is a rune, can turn into a stone or an iron, and vice versa. And then like the last one, this is a pretty important one in my opinion. This allows you to move an item from a troll into your supply, which is, like a pretty good one to have. And if that comes up, I usually try to get that because of the fact that I like being able to move my stuff out of there. All right, so as I said, the game will end. I'm just grabbing these to show you. Remember, you got to build your tableau of trolls, if you will. And I'm not replacing these because, even though I should, just so I can show you. So as soon as one person has their complete cascade, their troll den completed, that means that you would claim the 5 points in that situation. For those of you, the next person would get the 3, and then you get 2 more turns. Like basically that signifies the end of the game. Everybody gets 2 more turns. Once those 2 turns are done, you're going to total up the number of points that you've completed from building all of your tunnels and what have you. And then like the bonus points are going to come from like having resources will give you bonus points. Pedestals in different areas are going to earn you those 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. If the pedestal has a statue on it of the right color, you'll be able to double those points. Those are great. And obviously the points from the great halls as well, worth more. Like this big guy here, if you're able to build this giant one, it's going to be worth 12 points, and then 25 if you're able to get a statue onto that spot. Whoever earns the most points over the course of the game will then have the most honor and will be able to be the Mountain King. This game has everything that I love about games like this. It rewards like planning ahead. It rewards, there's something about like the cascading thing. There was something so cool about that. About do I get cheap trolls and just get it filled up, or do I save up and get really good ones? What's my strategy gonna be? Am I just, you need to be on the outside here to collect resources and to give workshops, things like that, but the real points are on the inside. So you have this weird thing where you build out and then you're going to be building in, because, you know, obviously you need lots of hammers and what have you to be able to dig through all that tough dirt. And also, it's a bit of a race. You know, it's like if everybody else is kind of taking their time, then you can feel like you can take some time too. But maybe that's your chance to, like, you know, go for the gusto and start racing towards the end. Maybe finishing off your troll den or something like that to, like, hurry up the end of the game. Lots of different choices, lots of fun things going on as the game is played, and I just had an absolute blast with it. But let me tell you more about that in my final thoughts. Alright, so that was In the Hall of the Mountain King. Thank you up there. Like I said, I already told you I thought the game was awesome. I said that a few times already. This game really shined for me and my daughter. I think it was one of those things where both of us really liked, you know, building out the tunnels and, like, seeing where different resources were and knowing we were going for those particular things. Seeing particular trolls that we really wanted to add to our little troll den because we really wanted to cash in on those resources. And as I said, it is a planning game. Both my daughter and I really enjoy those where you're like, okay, in like 2 or 3 turns, I'm going to really want to build. I got this, you know, I got this statue sitting here waiting. I've really got to get further in, get a pedestal set up, and then I got to move that statue to that pedestal. How am I going to make that happen in the next 2 or 3 turns? And how am I going to make sure that I do it quick enough? Because I see, and especially in a 2-player game, when the one person, it only takes one person to actually trigger the end of the game. How am I going to do that? Because I see that they're getting close to finishing off their little pyramid of trolls, and I need to do that before they get there. Plus the whole process of, like, the trolls and, like, the bribing of the trolls. You know, it's like, oh, it's like, do I take this kind of crummy troll, but I really need that gold? That'd be really helpful right now. Do I hold out and I maybe spend more gold later? You know, stuff like that. It's just, like, it seems like you have, like, these very, very interesting and tough decisions. And I think that's what really makes games fun for me, is when I'm puzzling over what my next move is. What is the best possible choice I can make at this particular time? And In the Hall of the Mountain King has that in spades. It doesn't hurt that the game is beautiful to look at. I have a prototype, and I just thought afterwards, when you're able to look and see your tunnels and see wherever you went, I thought that was really, really cool, and you can kind of see the progression of how the game went. When you're racing to build, like, a big giant block on the board, and so you can get that giant grand hall before somebody else, you know, stuff like that. It's like there's enough tension in the game, there's enough grit in the game that makes me want to come back to the table and bring it back to the table and have one more go at it again and again. So yeah, this one hit on all cylinders for me. I can't wait to see what, like, the deluxe version of this game is going to be. You know, I had to pay out the nose to get my deluxe Endeavor, which they did before, because I saw, like, the retail versus. I mean, you get whatever you want. I'm one of those people, I need the shiny, and once I saw how shiny the deluxe Endeavor was, I had to, like, once again, aftermarket, go out and pay out the nose for it. So I strongly suggest, if you are a fan of, like, the whole, like, upgraded resources, upgraded things like that, go check that out. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. And I'm pretty sure that if you love the game, you're going to wish you had gotten the other one. As soon as this one goes live, bam, me kicks, you know, deluxe version backing when I'm not making that same mistake twice. So, awesome game. You're going to have a great time with it. In the Hall of the Mountain King. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It really means a lot to me. And as always, remember, you be the most awesome version of you that you possibly can be. I guarantee you that the more love and happiness and kindness that you project out into the universe, the exact same amount of that is going to come back to you, maybe even more so. Like I said, be the best, most awesome thing that you can possibly be, and lead by example. If you can't speak up, and if you can speak up, speak up. But if you can't speak up, just practice being awesome, and I guarantee you, people want to be awesome around you. All right, this is me signing out. In the Hall of the Mountain King. Check it out.